I am George. Today, Bitcoin is nearing $50,000. It is very, very, very close. It's right at this cusp of hitting $50,000. Say it with me, $50,000. And this is absolutely huge. So, on this Sunday, this Valentine's Day, it's a very special day. Hopefully, I'm not taking time away from your girlfriend, spouse, or whoever, your loved one. But you know what? It's exciting time. I want to cover why Bitcoin is nearing 50,000, what's going to happen after 50,000, and of course, talk about the altcoins that are draining right now because of all the money going into Bitcoin. So what should you do? That is the whole point of today's stream. So for those of you guys that are here, welcome. Make sure you smash up the like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of my future streams. And let's do this on this very, very special Valentine's Day. All right, let me change my screen here. There we go. All right, so looking at Bitcoin, it is at 48,900, just round up 49,000. But this morning, very, very early morning, or maybe very, very late at night, Bitcoin went up as high as 49,600. Yeah, there was a sudden pump last night, and it went a little bit higher, came a little down, but now we're still, we're just hovering there at right around $49,000. You know that a big move is right around the corner. I think it's going to push us to 50,000. Now the question mark is, when we break that, is Bitcoin just going to go up to the moon? Because I'm willing to bet there's a lot of shorts right here, right at $50,000. It's an even number. It's halfway to 6 digits. So if Bitcoin shoots up past this, it could cause a lot of liquidations and could drive Bitcoin even higher, 51, 52, 53. We don't know, or will it get rejected over here and come back down, or will it just hover around here? I don't know. I think the first is the most likely, that if Bitcoin gets a sudden inject of money and it shoots up past 50,000, I think we're going to see it blow up, possibly go as high as 51, 52, 53 before settling back down a little bit. So I think we're right at the cusp of that. So obviously it's been a long journey, but not really, because ever since 20,000, Bitcoin has gone up pretty fast. We're talking about within a month, it pretty much doubled. And then within the next month, we went up a little bit higher. Of course, the last few weeks, it's been a little bit slower. But you know what? Anytime there's a sideways movement, when you get past it, right? We hit 40,000, went down to 30,000. We know that F2 pool had something to do with this. But afterwards, boom, you start moving the next leg really, really quickly. And that's what we're seeing right now. So maybe even by the end of the stream, we will see 50,000 for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is definitely doing really good, leading the market. And the market is now at the cusp of $1.5 trillion. Slowly going up, slowly going up. Now it's at $1.49 trillion. So I'm pretty certain that we will see $1.5 trillion in the near future. And $1.5 trillion is nothing to be sneezing at. That is a large amount. You can't ignore crypto now at $1.5 trillion. This is literally double of where it was back in 2017, 2018 at the peak. We are double that now, and it makes sense because Bitcoin is more than double of its previous high back in 2017, right? This market is too large to be ignored at this point. All right, before I get into altcoins, let's talk about why Bitcoin is here. Well, first of all, looking at F2 pool, F2 pool has been really, really quiet as of late. Ever since I kind of discovered what they were doing, a lot of people helped in and tuned in to this fact. Big shout out to BitBoy. He brought a lot of attention to this. And you know what? Ever since we kind of discovered this mass selling, oops, I screwed that up. Let me zoom back out here. Auto scale. There we go. Ever since this was discovered that there was just massive dumping going on, we brought it to light, and now you could see that things have really, really tamed down in terms of selling. Besides this one, which again I called out right when there was like a sudden outflow of 2,700 Bitcoins in a single hour. But look at since then, very, very tame, right? Very, very tame indeed compared to previous times. So it seems like, we brought attention to the situation, and maybe the whales, maybe it's not F2 pool themselves, maybe it's the whales that's utilizing F2 pool. They have certainly calmed things down. This is one of the reasons why Bitcoin continues to hover and continue to inch higher, because there's no sell pressure at this point. I mean, that's a big part of it, right? So F2 pool seems to have calmed down for the moment. And of course, within the last few weeks, we had some tremendous movement for Bitcoin because of all the things that's going on around the world. Of course, we can't ignore the fact that Tesla bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. That is huge. Not to only accept it, which is coming, and I believe it's not just going to be Bitcoin, it could be Dogecoin too, but they actually bought $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. Guess what? They utilized MicroStrategy's playbook, and a lot of company. Actually, last time I heard Michael Saylor talk about it, he said there was 7,000 companies that intended Bitcoin for corporations. So think about how many companies out of the 7,000 will be buying Bitcoin with their reserve currency. It's enormous, right? But that's definitely changed the landscape. We know MicroStrategy did it first, but they're like a peanut. They're a peanut compared to some of these larger companies. And now Tesla, the 8th largest company in the world, doing it. It's really hard to ignore, and it gives legitimacy and basically it gives companies a reason to do it now, because they're like, hey, we want to be like Tesla, or hey, Tesla did it, so it must be okay, right? A lot of people are going to follow in their footsteps. So of course, this made Bitcoin shoot up in a big way. I just covered this yesterday. Amazon is now working on digital currency solutions. So they are planning on testing this in Mexico first. I don't know why Mexico, but Amazon is falling behind. I mean, it's next, I should say. Because they don't want to miss out. They're the largest retailer in the world. Why would you not open up crypto payments, right? So they are definitely working on this. There's a new boss coming, Andy Jassy, who's a cloud guy. He knows all about decentralization, blockchain, and who knows what's going to happen with Amazon once he takes helm, right? And there are rumors, of course, that Amazon might launch their own digital currency, the Amazon coin. Why not? If you're going to be accepting crypto payments, they already have their Amazon credits, they have Amazon cards, they have Amazon everything. Why not come out with a digital currency Amazon coin where you could buy and get discounts on your shopping experience? That makes a whole lot of sense. Maybe Tesla will come out with a Tesla coin. It just makes sense. And Apple Pay, I think, isn't far behind, right? So everyone is jumping in to Bitcoin and crypto. Now, here's also something that could be coming up in very short order. Canada already approved the world's first Bitcoin ETF. So Canada kind of just said, okay, let's do this, right? Because Tesla bought it. All the banks are buying it. We can't really ignore it. We can't argue the fact that Bitcoin's going to die or it's manipulated, because it's a worldwide phenomenon and everyone is buying it. It's not controlled by any government or entity or it's governed by code, right? So they're saying, okay, so this will launch. That will be huge. And guess what? The US will launch Bitcoin ETFs as well, which will be huge. And the worldwide, everyone will launch Bitcoin ETFs. And these funds actually have to hold Bitcoin to be able to be offered to people to buy. So the more people that get in, the more Bitcoin has to be bought. So simple as that. Very, very bullish. Of course, you have banks like Morgan Stanley now that's thinking about opening up 150 billion unit just dedicated on Bitcoin and trading, custody, investment advice. I mean, the whole shebang. 150 million unit, dedicated unit, not like a small unit like a desk. That's it. The whole unit. And they're not the only ones. All the banks are jumping in because they realize we got to get in. We got to get in, or we're going to be missing out, and we're going to die like the dinosaurs, right? And BNY Mellon, America's oldest bank, and they have like 12 trillion in assets. I did not know that they were that big. I read somewhere it's like 12 trillion assets. absolutely huge. They are going to be a custodian for Bitcoin. They're offering custody service pretty soon. And they're going to follow the same footsteps as Morgan Stanley and open up their own unit, crypto trading, financial advisory, the whole shebang, right? So every bank is also jumping in. This is definitely helping, right? Bill Miller, a fund manager, one of the big dogs that's been talked about from Wall Street, that is a big supporter of Bitcoin. He sent this out. This was last month, but he talking about Bitcoin, how it's here to stay. He really, 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 really loves Bitcoin. So you have Bill Miller, Paul Dedore Jones, Mike Novogratz, others that is really, really bullish. Tim Draper, let's not forget Chamath. All these guys are very, very bullish on Bitcoin for good reason. Here's another bank, Deutsche Bank. They're going to open up custodial service too. So, like I said, every bank. You got big hedge funds like ARK Invest that can't get enough of Bitcoin. They have just upped their GBDC shares by another 2.14 million. That's a lot. That's a lot of exposure to Bitcoin, right? Hedge funds are getting involved. Banks are getting involved. Publicly traded companies are getting involved. This is why Bitcoin is where it is at $49,000 and is about to breach $50,000, and why it's going to go into 6 digits very soon, very easily and very soon, much sooner than anticipated, because as big as Bitcoin is now at 900 billion, nearing 1 trillion itself, this is still very small compared to, say, silver, which is at 1.4 trillion, and gold, which is at 12 trillion. So think about how much more money there is out there that could be flowing into Bitcoin and driving it up. It's enormous, enormous. Bitcoin is only like 1/12 of gold, and there's no one at this point that can say gold is better than Bitcoin. No one could say that. Everyone is thinking the opposite, that Bitcoin is a better form of gold. It's a digital version of gold. And as Michael Saylor once said, it's a pharmaceutical gold. It's the best parts of gold without any of the negatives. So that is what Bitcoin is, man. It's definitely wild. It's definitely wild. Within 2 years span, or let's say 1 year span, look at how far Bitcoin has come. It's really, really amazing. And of course, for those of you guys that don't know, there's only 900 Bitcoins produced per day. And all these guys that are buying, they're buying way more than 900 Bitcoin a day. Grayscale is buying more than double this. PayPal is buying more than this a day. This is all gone. All the future ones, the 2.4 million that is left to be mined, is all spoken for. There's no more. All these institutions, public trade companies, they're all buying it, and not only they're buying, they're fighting for the ones that's in existence. This is why you don't want to sell Bitcoin at this point, in my opinion, because if you do, it's going to go away to someone else, and when you buy it back, it's going to be much more expensive, and you end up having less, because this is being fought for right now. Everyone wants this 21 million, as much of it as possible. And out of the 18.6 million out there, 3, 4, 5 million is lost. So realistically, there's only about 13 or 14 million in existence. A large portion of that is held by Satoshi himself and miners and exchange cold wallets. So if you discount all of that, the number of floating Bitcoins out there is actually really, really, really tiny. Really, really tiny compared to the entire population in the world. And it's only going to get more and more scarce because more and more people are going to get in. Demand goes up, supply goes down, right? And you do the math. That is why Bitcoin is nearing $50,000 and why it's going to go much, much higher. I didn't even realize this. At 900 billion, Bitcoin itself is almost a $1 trillion entity. So just to bring up, what does that mean? If you rank it according to the world's largest companies, Bitcoin is now way above Tesla. It's about to surpass Tencent, and it's coming up to Alphabet. So the total crypto market cap at 1.5 trillion, if you think about it, that's pretty enormous. That equals silver, which has been around for a long time. This equals all the derivatives paper silver plus physical silver out there. So think about it. The crypto market cap is now equal to the entire market cap of silver in the entire world. That is enormous. And Bitcoin is going to come up to that point too. Man, things are moving really, really, really well. It's quite amazing. All right. Last two things I want to talk about. Number one is Mark Cuban. He seems to be flip-flopping every single day. Now he's more pro-Bitcoin. At one point in time, not too long ago, he's like, Bitcoin, I'd rather have bananas over Bitcoin. Now, he's like, Bitcoin is probably a store of value. But what he really likes is blockchain and specifically DeFi. And this is what I've been saying recently. I had an epiphany. I started thinking about the overall landscape. Right? For me, I know Bitcoin is going to become the new digital gold, and it can even surpass surpass gold. It could go to $1 million and beyond. But what happens after that? Right? Is everything else going to stay the same? So Bitcoin takes over as the best store of value ever. And then what about finance? What about how things are done with banks, your savings, loans, right? Trading. All that is still centralized. And all that is still controlled. Why would that not evolve? That's why I'm so bullish now on DeFi, because DeFi is definitely blowing up. People are looking for alternatives. And now it seems like Cuban also agrees with that. Not that he's copying off of me, but he's having the same kind of thought process. To quote him, smart contracts are real and reminding me of the early days of the internet. Just with HTML, some basic JavaScript, you could do a whole lot of business. It's becoming friction-free banking. It's easier to borrow in seconds. If you have $200 in Ether or Bitcoin, you want to wrap it, and then you want to borrow $100 at 2.3%, it takes you 15 seconds. That's incredible. That really begins to disrupt the banking industry. This is why I've been saying, right? Right now, why do you need a bank? You need a bank for basically deposits, right? To make your basically zero interest, and also you need banks to provide you loans for your mortgage, right? Or your car loan, or personal loans, or equity loans, stuff like that. But what if you didn't really need them anymore for that kind of stuff? You just borrow. You just borrow within DeFi, right? Now, we're not there yet, but it's evolving. It's evolving very, very, very quickly. You don't see really, I guess, deals like that right now. Uncollateralized loans, although one of the projects I recently covered does do uncollateralized loans, right? So that is what it's all about. So Mark Cuban is very, very pro on DeFi and blockchain, right? And I am too. And that is why DeFi, if you look at it, total locked-in value is about $40 billion. And this is still very, very, very early. In terms of, if you look at the market cap versus the liquidity that's locked in, that's still very early. I created a video recently, maybe like a week ago, looking at banks around the world and how much assets they hold. I mean, it's enormous. The top 100 banks of the world hold $100 trillion worth of assets. That's I don't even know the multiplier. At least 100x versus their market cap. If you look at the companies now within the crypto space, the number of locked-in assets is way smaller than even the market cap of the company. So kind of shows you that it is definitely still very undervalued right now. But like I said, it's growing. And we don't know where it's going to grow to. And we don't know what's going to come out a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, right? So that is why I'm very bullish on altcoins and DeFi and overall the entire space. And of course, Bitcoin, right? Of course, Bitcoin too. All right, guys. That's pretty much what I wanted to say. I'll turn it back to you guys. Let's do some Q&A. It is very, very hot in my room for some reason. Like, I have to open a window. Hold on. There we go. Very, very, very hot. Oh, boy. Okay. Let's do some Q&A. Tech Boy asks, why do we care about miners selling for profit if it frees up supply and gets prices of Bitcoin down for more opportunity? Well, I explained this many times. The miners could do whatever they want. The problem is when they have so much they could sell at a certain time, they could drive prices down and they could profit from that so that they could buy Bitcoin shorts, for example. And since they're making so much from Bitcoin shorts, they can continuously drive things down and utilize the profits from Bitcoin shorts to buy back Bitcoin. So essentially, they're manipulating the market and price suppression. So they could rinse and repeat that literally forever, as long as derivatives like Bitcoin futures exist. Now, Bitcoin futures didn't exist and there's no way to really profit from a downfall, then there's no problem. If they want to sell, they can. But the problem is there are derivatives that allow you to make money on the inverse side, which is why we have to watch out for that, which is why I think they were doing that for a long time. Now they're not because there's so much heat on them. That's the difference. I've explained that many times. I still don't get why some people don't understand that. Jay, big super chat. Armor Insurance, big partners. Nexus Mutual, Andre Croye, Crater. Andre Croye, I think that's how you say it. Croye. I know he has a good reputation, but his projects keep getting hacked. So I don't know how good of a reputation he really has. Yearn Finance got hacked twice, and another project he was involved in got hacked too. So I don't know about that. But anyways, Nexus Mutual. So what is Nexus Mutual? Nexus Mutual uses Ethereum so people can share risk together without the need for an insurance company. So they're like an insurance company? What is this? Get covered against smart contract. Yeah, so it is an insurance company. Insurance company? Wow. I guess there is something for everything. Hey, I laugh right now, but you know what? Insurance, that's also very centralized right now. Like, insurance companies are a pain to deal with. And there's only like a bunch of them. At least in the US, there's like 4 or 5 of them. And none of them are really good. So maybe crypto-powered insurances will replace them too. So, you know, that's another thing I haven't really thought of before. Thoughts on Sync Network? If I could type right. Yeah, you know what? I'm not even going to look at this. So many of you guys are asking super chats purely because you see something pumped up, like 109%, and you're like, oh, I have to ask about it because should I jump in on the should I FOMO in? The answer is no. When something goes up 109% within a day, you don't want to FOMO in because that's how you go lose it all. Regardless if this is the best project ever created on earth in history of crypto, you don't want to jump in after it goes up 109%. So I'm pretty sure, RJ, that's why you asked, because it jumped up. I'm going to say no. George, what other altcoin do you think is good to buy besides the 3 you suggested last week? I invested in BAT, Graph. Hey, you got to pay attention, man. I have a lot of streams. Every single day. I had one last night about Chainlink. I talked about TrueFi recently. I talked about ADA recently, Ethereum recently, Helium recently. Talked about Voyager recently. Man, pick. There's so many, and I cover a lot during Q&A too. So pay attention, man. There's a lot of good projects out there. A lot of good projects. I mentioned AMP on Patreon. Do you want to do a quick TA? Not really. But I will. Let's see. Yeah, so AMP was introduced to me recently. I really like it after discovering it. But if you look at TA, let's see, the 1 hour. 1 hour is coming down. All right, nearing close to the bottom, but not there yet. 4 hour is close to the bottom. So this looks like this could be a turning point, right? So when 1 hour comes down, it could be a good one. So yeah, 15 minutes is pretty flatline. So I think after the 1 hour is done, then it's ready to rock. That's what it looks like. But right now, you know, things are a little bit iffy. It looks iffy for altcoins because the Bitcoin pump. So this is why when I say I advocate, like when you diversify, you have alts and Bitcoin, don't go beyond 50% with alts, because days like today you'll get slaughtered because Bitcoins go up and most altcoins are taking a breather. Like for example, Cardano is down 6%. That hurts, right? So that's why you still want to have Bitcoin. Bitcoin will go up and it's stable and it will be pumped too. And sometimes there are pump days where it just drains literally everything out. So you got to be careful with that. Rich Buddy, at what price, what top 3-4 coins to push fresh money in now? Ling's 2,500. I can't advise you, man, Rich. Even though you're a mod, I can't advise you on what you should buy. But just pay attention. I've covered a lot of things that are very, very promising. Some even big caps, some mid caps. Even big caps, I think it's not going to stop. Just look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, we're talking about at 50,000. I think Bitcoin's going to go to 500,000. So that's 10x. You know, think about altcoins. Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, Binance Coin, Chainlink. Why would they not do at least 10x or even more, 20x, which is what I've been saying. And people were like, that's clickbait. You don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah. Well, then if you think that, then you think that Bitcoin can't go up 10x from here. You think Bitcoin has topped out. That's basically what you're saying. And I don't think so at all. I don't think so at all. So, Rich, there's a lot of good buys, even in the big caps. But you move down, DeFi, I just got done saying, very, 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 very new, very experimental, but it will evolve and get much better. VeChain is definitely one of them. Mid caps, Terra, I mentioned about it. Compound is another one. Sushi Swap, UMA. These are all ones I talked about. Kusama in some way, but I like Polkadot better. There's a lot. There's a lot. Even Ren, Basic Attention Token, Voyager, Pancake Swap, 1inch. I've talked about all these in the past. They're all doing very, very well. All right, what else is there? What else is there? I missed a couple. There's so much. Clinton asks, have Aave peaked? No, I don't think so. I think Aave is taking an extended breather because it has gone up literally too fast. I shouldn't say too fast, but you got to realize Aave went up like 10x within a month. So now some of that money is flowing out because people are looking for the next Aave, right? Like Compound is a good alternative to Aave that's much cheaper. So that has been doing well. So I think it's just a matter of time before Aave gains the strength and goes up. But if you look at the performance of Aave over the last like month or two, that is the reason why. So let's look at this. Let's just go back 1 month. So look at Aave staggering 260% within the last month, right? And that's versus Bitcoin's 35%. If you go back like 3 months, you know, Aave is a staggering 662%. So that is why it's taking an extended breather, because it's going up quite a lot. Well, and something like Cardano too, 600 something percent also within the last 6 months. Very impressive gains. So I would not be so panicking over Aave right now, but it could be a good time to look at some of the smaller alternatives. They could be doing very well in the meantime. Armor Insurance would have protected against the cream exploit that happened last night. Okay. But what if, here's the thing. What if the exploit lost, let's say, $1 billion? Would Armor Insurance be able to cover it? So I wonder how much actually they have to be able to cover, because I don't think they have that much. Because even like traditional insurance companies, they can only cover so much. They don't, unless you pay an enormous premium. After your prediction, Badass asked, after your prediction, ETH making 10K by August or end of the year, do you think it will dump after that or continue to go up to 20K? No. And get rid of the word dump. I don't believe anything's going to dump. Mainly because Bitcoin is not going to be dumped. Why would institutions get in on Bitcoin now, and banks get on Bitcoin now, and say, oh, okay, the end of the cycle is here, let's dump it? They're not going to do that. They're holding for long term. They're holding against inflation. So if they're not going to be dumping Bitcoin and there's no mass exodus of Bitcoin, why would any of these dump? So no. I mean, there will be profit taking. We're seeing some of that right now. There will be retracements. There'll be breathers, profit taking, right? That's all natural. But when you say dump, I know you're thinking about like, oh, 85%, 90% dump. I don't see that. I don't see that happening after this cycle because I look at what's happening with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is only getting stronger. And, you know, with these institutions, they have strong hands. They're not weak hands like retail investors that at any sign of trouble, they're like, oh, I better sell. It's not like that at all. These guys hold on to stuff for decades. And I think they're going to do the same thing with Bitcoin because they're going to see that it's a better form of gold. Parsk. So what is Parsk? Let's look at an overview here real quick. Next generation of monitoring and intelligence offer analytic tools for blockchain technology. Okay. Enables users to track network activity in real time, unlock use cases. Okay. Analytics company. That's not bad. That's not very sexy though, but it's definitely needed. Turn blockchain data into actions. Connect blockchain activity to off-chain apps and devices. Monitor and secure DeFi applications. Okay. So, okay. So this is this reminds me of like IFFFF, right? It basically you can monitor anything and set a trigger, and then it will do something like remind you. So that reminds me exactly what it is. It's a blockchain version of that. So you could trigger like easy stuff like, hey, Bitcoin falls or pumps, you know, tell me, give me a warning, right? But you could also probably set something more sophisticated like, hey, if Bitcoin goes up 10%, sell 10%, put that money to go buy Ethereum and monitor Ethereum. Like you could probably chain it together. I don't know if it's that sophisticated yet, but like with IFFF, I think is IFFF is something like that. So actually pretty interesting. But again, it's not anything sexy. You know, I don't think anyone is like, oh, I gotta buy a ton of Parsk because it's going, you know, help me trigger stuff within the blockchain world. That's the thing. It's not a sexy project, so hopefully that answers that. No specific questions for you. George wanted to say thanks for your time and efforts. Keep up the great work. I appreciate that. I do. Putting out 2 videos now pretty much every single day. You know, takes a lot of work, but I do enjoy it. You guys make it worthwhile too. Abass, when do you think we'll start seeing premiums for real BCC? When the exchanges run out. When the exchanges run out, the exchange supply keeps dropping. Crypto Quant shows that the supply on exchanges keeps dropping. And once the exchanges run out, they have no choice but to keep getting it from OTC market. Then I think we'll see a premium happen, right? And as more and more retail investors come in, that's what's going to happen. Mostly retail investors buy from the exchanges, right? And institutional investors buy OTC. So I think that's actually a good question. I think that will happen then. Is Quant a sleeping giant? Tony asked. Well, Quant, you know what? Other than Pedro, no one asked me about Quant, but they are. They're again, they're not a sexy they're not a sexy project, but they are a blockchain project that concentrates on business. So they kind of changed their website. This is different now. Connecting the world's distributed ledger for faster. I remember they were in the business of creating private and public and private blockchains, and businesses can easily get involved, especially with their private blockchains. But it seems like maybe they've gone beyond, or maybe they just changed their website. So yeah, they're good. I remember when I looked at them, they were good, and their leaders were good too. But again, I haven't really covered them. I haven't done a deep dive on them for quite some time. But I know that when I looked at them before, they were actually a pretty good project. And no one talks about Quant. No one, literally no one other than Pedro. So, but I'll just say it's a good project and it's slowly coming up, not pumped up too much. Obviously, recently a lot of things pumped up, but you know what? I think this is about right where they should be, and it could go a lot higher than that. Random thought, I have a 24-hour window where BTC goes up 100% a year. Wait, what? I feel... Vahe, I don't know what you're saying, but yeah. Yeah, I'll take it. How's the ETF different from a BTC fund? From a Grayscale fund, it's complicated. Grayscale fund works like this. You have institutional investors that give Grayscale a whole bunch of money, and then they buy Grayscale shares. But then that shares could be sold later on to the public. That is why if you go to like your brokerage and you buy GBTC shares, you're buying it after the institutional investors are actually selling it to you. So when they buy it, there's no premium. When you buy it, there's a premium. That's the difference. And with Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, I heard that once the pot is in, it never comes out. And it's an interesting concept where basically the Bitcoin that is in their trust, it never gets sold. They only just sell shares of it. Where ETF will go both ways. The fund company can diversify and sell Bitcoin off if a lot of people are selling it off. So a little different. And also with ETFs, you could have more derivative stuff. You can have, let's say, 2x, 3x of that ETF and go both ways. You could sell it, you could short it, and you could go long. With Grayscale, you can only go one way. So there's some fundamental difference. That's in a nutshell how I understand it. It could work even more complicated than that, but there is a difference between the two. Do you think there will be more crypto like ETH and Bitcoins made by 2022? Yeah, sure. There's a lot already out there. Polkadot and Cardano are different ETHs. They're competing in the same space. Same thing on the Binance chain. A lot of these are competitors to Ethereum. Now, in terms of creating Bitcoins, like something that competes with Bitcoin, no. It's the greatest store of value. Nothing will ever beat that in terms of that category. Is Orchard a good project? Does TrueVibe have potential in the loaning space? Yes. That's why you should watch my TrueVibe video. I think they do have true potential with their unique voting aspect on non-collateralized loans. That's how Aave started. So I really like them. Orchard is a decentralized VPN, which is interesting. And I actually know some of the founders. I went to high school with one of them, who I think is a CTO. He actually invented Cydia, the jailbroken app store on iOS. He created that. So I know the guy, Jay Freeman. But I don't know, decentralized VPN doesn't sound very interesting to me, but they are sponsoring some huge event with Edward Snowden that is coming up. So I think it's causing a lot of, giving a lot of attention. So. All right, I think that's pretty much it. I'll let you guys go. Overall, Bitcoin around 49,000, came down a little bit, right? Bitcoin is having a good day. It's nearing $50,000. At one point in time, not too long ago, it seemed like $50,000 for Bitcoin is impossibility. Now, it's right around the corner. Right around the corner. Any minute, any hour, we can see that come, right? But with that said, today is actually a pretty good day because those of you guys that are looking for altcoins, looking for DeFi plays, right, that have been going up to the moon, they've been taking a breather, right? Especially today, they're down a little bit. Like, for example, people kept asking me, when is Cardano going to come down, right? They've been going up to the moon, and now they've come down a little bit to 85 cents. 84 cents when they were just at 94 cents, right? So right now, it's a really good time to take advantage of some of those altcoins because of the Bitcoin pump. And everything eventually should go up in tandem. But there are days where it's off like that. So I think it's a very, very good day overall. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. As always, smash up the like, subscribe to the channel. If you want to join in on the chat with me and others and get some exclusive content, check out my Patreon page. If you want a crash course on Bitcoin, then check out my Teachable page. All right, take care, guys. Until next time. Bye-bye.